What's up, people? So, first thing I want to talk about here is how to train with me. A lot of people have asked me that lately, and basically just my email. Just send me an email, applied.performance.shooting@gmail.com. We can set up whatever you're looking for, whether it's video stuff or in person. I'm in the Maryland area, Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, all over there area. So if you're anywhere close to that, I had a guy come all the way from Cincinnati, two guys from Ohio that are a little closer. Um, got a decent sized class scheduled. Supposed to be here in about a month, and then after that, all kinds of little stuff going on. So send me an email, and we'll get motivated. So, what I want to talk about is a bunch of little gear questions that I've gotten recently, and just basic bullshit. Whatever anybody, any questions that anybody has on gear stuff. I don't really do gear reviews or anything that much, but I've gone through plenty of it. So, I'm very minimalist in what I do gear wise. So I try to really do some research and buy smart shit. I hate buying shit twice. I hate sending shit back. Ugh, I just hate it. So anything that I buy, I research the shit out of it, making sure that, because nowadays what's nice is there's lots of options. So back 5, 6, even 6 years ago, when I started kind of getting into everything, like the gear options and stuff just weren't all that great. Nowadays we got everything, like a million of everything, so you got to research the shit out of it. What's up, guys? How you doing? Big Johnson, Josh. So we're gonna walk through a couple of questions here, and then just talk about some AR gear, some regular old shit. Shit. That was a hell of a backfire. Sound like a gunshot. What in the hell? Wow. I just heard a hell of a backfire. Heard a car pulling out right after it though, so I'm pretty sure it was a backfire. But damn, that sounded like a damn gunshot. Well, I'm ready. I'm halfway ready. I just got to get some a magazine with some ammo in it and start going to work. So probably wouldn't be the best time. I'm kind of situated with lots of airsoft units around me. So if anything, we could poke their eyeballs out. I get a lot of questions on this, and I don't know why this is so hard for people to kind of go with a plan and go with it, but zeroing a pistol optic, holy shit. And I'm not bashing anybody who asked this question. I just I'm trying to bash like whoever told people it was complicated, or whatever stuff is out there on the internet that seems to be contradictory, where people are trying to make it more complicated or something. But pistol optics is the exact same as rifle optics. Just pick a zero and go with it, and then go to the range and literally shoot at different distances and see what effect it has. It's very, very little all the way through the whole motion, unless you till you get to the point where you're actually dropping, till you get to 100 yards and stuff out there where 9mm starts to fall. Then you're be aiming over anyway. So it's so weird that people have this question so much. But all I do is zero my pistol optic at 15 yards. It's just super simple. In USPSA, most target engagements are going to be 10 to 20 yards, like probably an average of something like that, 12 or something. And then defensive context, 15 yard zero, it's perfect for anything under that. It's really just perfect for everything. So I just pick one and go with it. And even if you want to do a 10 yard zero, do that. If you want to do a 25 yard zero, do that. But just do it and then go shoot it a little bit, and I promise you, there's no rocket science or wizardry or this zero is better for that and that zero is better. It's a pistol. Like, none of that shit. With rifles, you can start talking about 100 yard versus 50 versus like 36 versus all these kind of things, but it's just not worth even worrying about. 15, yeah, but in meters, right? So like 15 yards in a foot, or something like that. Yeah, it's pretty simple. 50, 200 is kind of what I do with my rifles, and I just basically go with that because then it's kind of even across the board. Yeah, yeah, you can't really get them perfect unless you get lucky. It doesn't. You can't really get them dead perfect. If you really try to take your time and zero it like dead nuts, the pistol optic just doesn't have fine enough adjustments, and it pisses you off. And then you're like, then you got to pick one or the other, and it's like it's only this much. I know what you mean. I've done that before, and then I'm like, you know what? Now I do it offhand. I don't even use bags or anything. I just shoot a group at 15 yards. I know how big of a group I can shoot and keep it small. Really taking my time, super accurate, but I don't even bag it or do anything. I just literally bolt it on there, and as soon as I get to the range, I'm going to zero it standing. Yeah, there's no real reason to bag, I guess. If you wanted to really make sure, if you had a little bit shaky hands or something. So hey, what's up, man? Tips on grip technique when using a weapon light. Basically, what I do is I rely mostly on my strong hand at that point. Okay, our strong hand has the best grip possible on the old unit, so I just basically rely on the strong hand, and then all I'm going to do is try to squeeze a little bit with the support hand, but I'm not really trying to get like superb recoil control while on the weapon light. That's for me though. I can just about shoot with my strong hand just as good, even with compromised grip over here. So I basically just worry about being really good at manipulating that light. Okay, I know I can shoot good, so I'm trying to get in a good position, but I also use constant on a lot for searching and assessing or whatever. Momentary is nice on a pistol light, but for me, I like the constant on. I like to flick my X300 or stream light on as I'm going in if I know I'm going to go constant on, and then basically your grip is perfect, and just let it rip at that point. So everybody notices that I've moved my finger. So check this out. My grip used to be on the corner of the trigger guard. Now on this Beretta, it's really bad. You can see it. But all I did was move my finger from here to there. I didn't really change much of my grip. Now, with putting my finger right there, I can pull the pistol back into my other hand a little harder. So I have implemented just a little bit of push and pull isometrically. When I stick it out there, I'm just trying to drive this palm, my right palm, into the back of the gun nice and flatly, and then I can pull back just a hair straight back with that finger being around. But my grip was here, and it changed to there. So like here to there. I mean, minuscule, but it looks so much different with that finger all the way up around there. And then with the weapon light, boom, stick a weapon light on there, I go right back to here. And then I can manipulate my light. So it's not as much of a change as everybody thinks, but there is a few small pressure and leverages that I've changed up, and I'm always constantly working on it, because no matter what you think, your grip, your trigger finger, the relationship between the two, can always be better. And that doesn't just mean better splits or something. That means actually pulling less shots because of sympathetic grip. Hey, what's up? Nice. I got a message. Okay. So, what else is on there? Yeah, Rifle Zero, I use 50 to 200. But I'm not, I have basically a couple of ARs and a couple of old bolt guns and stuff and nothing special. But I'm not like playing with ARs and building ARs and shit. I just got a couple of them that have really good parts on them and run the shit out of them. That's basically all that it's going to be. But the parts that you buy for ARs, man, you gotta I just think buy once, cry once, man. Get the shit out of the way, get the good shit, and run straight stock. Whatever, you know, buy an M&P Sport 2 and run the shit out of that thing, and eventually buy a Geisley trigger for it and a Geisley rail and this and that and whatever. I would do that 10 times before I kind of built 3 rifles out of whatever, and then finally realized to get good shit. I'm telling you, even if you, well, I got this thing. I shoot Glocks because they're good. I swear to God, the maybe it's just how I set them up, and I'm just so good at setting them up or something. But there's a lot of advantages to a brand new Glock unit. Couple little upgrades. I'm gonna try one of those big heavy guide rods and stuff. Play with some of the stuff that Humble Marksman's always talking about, and see what that feels like. I've never put any weights in any Glocks or anything, so I'm just gonna kind of feel what that feels like. But I shoot Glocks because they're freaking good, and I can go and take it right to the match, baby. So that's all I'm worried about. Oh shit. Okay, so how's the Eric Rafael Youngley? Okay, yep, for sure. Grip is solid, and yeah, the Yong Lee is another person that uses that grip, and he's got her dialed in. Yeah, so I'm using some of that, Edward. I'm using a lot of still a little bit of that. That's that basic Vogel style of pressure. So the Vogel grip doesn't just mean how he grips the gun, you know, crazy out like this. It just talks about, or what it really means is just the leverage is in, and that's what Yong Lee does, is he's grabbing the trigger guard and almost twisting the trigger guard off the gun by ripping into it. So I'm using a good bit of that pressure myself. I just kind of leave my elbows a little bit less up because I got enough strength in the forearms and everything. I don't feel like I need to overdo it. And if I overdo it, my elbows start to become rigid. And then my recoil starts to become a little bit more violent. So if I just kind of find that place where I'm really never putting any more than about 60% of my strength anywhere into any part of the grip. And that's how it usually works out to be more flowing in transitions, and then, you know, all that kind of shit. It allows your trigger finger to get faster, you know. Yep, take her easy, Big Johnson. So, what was I talking about? What did we say? Oh, ARs. We'll get into that. If people have AR questions, just let her rip. Both of mine are fairly normal. Nothing too special with them. This little Steiner 1-4 prime time. This one's just got a stream light, small light on it. That thing's been gravy. The smaller ones, I think, have been more reliable. And then Geisley rail, Geisley trigger, ballistic advantage barrel, arrow upper. You know, same old airsoft. So I got a carbine and pistol class coming up in about a month. It's going to be a good time. Gonna be a good time. Usually I don't get people who are willing to jump in, you know, to a full 2-day carbine and pistol. So I don't do a ton of those. But they're one of the funnest, most, we just rip. Let her fly, baby. Have a good time with that shit. 36 yard zero. I know Big Johnson's not here anymore, but it's just not that much different than 50. So I'm like, meh, you know. It's great though if you want to rock with that. The big thing with zeroing a rifle is you actually do need to know your holdovers and where you're at and your positioning and shit. With rifles, pistol don't freaking matter. With rifles, you do need to know your shit, and basically is if you shoot a lot and make sure that you group. So what I do is take mine out, group 25, and you're basically starting to get pretty close. You're about an inch at 25 height over bore. So 50, you're going to come back down to home. 75, you're about an inch, maybe even a hair more. 100, you're about an inch and a half. So it's just a lot of people don't do that. Set out a target from 100 to 200 yards or whatever, and walk back and lay down in the prone and do 25 yards, and then get your data to where you know exactly where that bullet hits. Even with regular old bullshit rounds, people just never do that. So they never really have a decent idea, like, what's my bullet going to do at 125 yards with a 50 yard zero? Like, where is it actually going to be? Because nowadays, as accurate and as good as shit is, 125 yards with an AR-15, you can put it right there. You can hit a quarter. So, I mean, the guns are so good. It's so accurate now. It's worth it to know exactly where you hit with the ammo you want to use. You know, in the great, you know, boog or whatever that's starting. So I say in I got all kinds of shit. In previous videos that I'm not gripping hard. No, I'm not gripping hard. I use a lot of mechanical leverages, and I use a lot of my arms as levers. So when I put my grip on and I'm building my top triangle index, I'm starting to grab places that my finger never moves from. Once this finger hits here, it locks on like creating a little pin right here, and then this finger locks on, then this finger locks on, and then as my arms extend, you naturally just develop all this pressure. So building the grip in a certain way as you present allows you to use less grip, actual strength and tension and shit. You can use leverages, so you're making little hitch points as you marry up, and then your arms are just big ass arms, like a post hole digger or a plier, and it just crushes in. Next thing you know, you're doing serious work without actually doing any squeezing. And then what I use that stuff for most guys, hey, I can teach you a few little things and you start to flow with the gun and start to let it work and everything and not try to overpower recoil. I can usually get guys like going like so quick. But when someone is very small statured, a lady, a small dude, or if they got some kind of ailment or something, that's when I teach them those like heavy torquing grips and using leverage like that, because you don't need grip strength. A lot of people are lacking grip strength, like true fingers, hands, grip strength. A lot of people are lacking. So you got to develop leverage points and leverages. This is some crazy, it's like I don't know what the hell you would call it. Like some kind of moonshine derivative somebody's made something out of, and it's pretty freaking awesome. It's like watermelon. guy gave me a thing of it. I'm like, shit. I don't really know how much alcohol is in it though. So if I drink the whole glass, I don't know what that'll do. If it's like a beer or what. So I'm just kind of chilling on it right now, trying to figure out what it even is. Rednecks around here, they'll give you some shit that you taste like Kool-Aid, and then you end up hammered. So I'm just having a sip. Yep. Some kind of contraption. Pretty good. Pretty fruity, but all right. So there's other questions here that what timer to buy. So the timer that I use, a lot of people want to know this because timers are expensive. Freaking things are $100 and some. So I just use the pack timer. As far as the big blue timer, the competition electronics one, and this black one, those are like the two main ones. Now, they're constantly coming out with cool shit. So there is some timers that are being tested by some guys that I know and used by some people that are saying that they're pretty freaking awesome. I just don't know enough about them to tell anybody to buy one. Now, this is as good as you're ever going to need, and they just work. Like this thing bounces around in a range box that it just gets beat on. And it's always solid. So the blue one or the black one is basically what to go with. And then LVPO versus red dots. What do you guys like? Because I love them both. My two units. Timers, they're about $125, $130, give or take, for that blue one or the black one. The packed or the competition electronics. If you go to Ben Steger Pro Shop or something like that, they got all the shit you need right there. Putting a red dot on there, yeah. Yeah, the smaller ones. I'm gonna get a 48 and do one of those little hollow sun, make a little cool carry gun. Be pretty sweet. Yeah, LVPOs I think are, if you're gonna just basically have one nice general purpose rifle, you can't beat it. Especially now, I like magnifiers. Yeah, magnifiers, a little 1 to 10, or the new little Vortex ones, or the new small EOTech ones are pretty cool. Obviously, yeah, if you're building a general purpose gun that's about as cool as it gets right now, a Vortex 1 to 10. I mean, those things are, and even the 1 to 6, because I think that the Vortex is, it's just the best of every world. So it's just solid. You can't get, it's one of those things you can't go wrong with. So the Razor 1 to 10 or 1 to 6, that's the best LVPOs on the market, I think, as far as price versus how good they are. Yeah, the 1 to 10s are so cool. just I haven't got to shoot one yet. I've got to fondle one. But I'm trying to buy a new bike and stuff, so I'm not spending any money on shooting. I'm trying to do a couple of decent sized classes here, like 8 people, you know, get some money rounded up so I can afford to buy a new bike without hearing too much about it. Kind of got to pay cash. The dot and the magnifiers are pretty cool. Like I said, with those small magnifiers, like nowadays, the new Vortex one, the new EOTech small ones. But man, it's pretty freaking expensive for a red dot and a magnifier of good quality. An EOTech with a magnifier, at least, is a chunk. You can damn near get into a Razor 1 to 6 at that price point. But I mean, you start getting into magnifiers and like the really good ones, or I don't know what the new Vortex one's going to sell for, But yeah, the Callus 1 to 6 is probably a step above the Vortex Razor, but they're a little more expensive, and they're just not as tested. You know, the one good thing about the Vortex Razors is everybody kind of looks at them like this premium optic, which it is, but those things are freaking strong as shit. Like, they go through work. And there's a million people running them. Vortex obviously has a good customer service and everything, but damn, those things are bomb proof. They're like a red dot almost anymore. This optic has been very, very good to me. Where the hell did I put that? Oh, fell. So yeah, this thing, the Steiner has been prime time, quite honestly. It's almost, as far as glass quality and the window and the eye box and eye cone and how good it is, this thing's like a baby brother to a Vortex Razor. It's just a hair behind, like a hair behind in every place. And then obviously it's just a 1 to 4. But I'm going to tell you this right now: if you have a 1 to 4 that's insanely clear glass like this, it's as good as a 1 to 6 that's junk. It really is. I know people hate. They love to talk about primary arms and everything, and I like that stuff. I had a 1 to 8 primary arms for a while and used it, and it was awesome. And for the money, it's crazy awesome. But there is a difference as far as how clear some glass like that, or a razor, or Acupoint or something like that, there is a huge difference. So even if you're lacking on magnification a little bit, if it's clear, you can see. And seeing is what's... You don't need to see something right here. You just need to see it well. So if you have a 1 to 4 with really good glass, it's just about as good as having a 1 to 6 that's of cheaper, kind of that yellowish, brownish looking glass that you would never even realize it's not that clear until you put up a razor and then a primary arms. And then a razor, or a razor and then a Strike Eagle. Like, it is what it is. They can't put that good of glass. Hell yeah, yeah. Well, nowadays, Bald, you got so many options. Now they got the 110. That thing is the shit. And what's cool is everybody else is going to have to step up to that thing, because it is so good. It's like a red dot and got 10 power. 10 power is like the military uses 10 power on sniper rifles all the time. 10 flat SWFAs and shit like that. People use that shit to do work with out distance. So a 1 to 10 that's basically a red dot and 10 freaking power, can't get no more versatile than that. As far as a general purpose rifle or whatever, I mean, that's as good as it gets. I'd like to have a Scar 17 with one of them on it. I think that'd be a cool 308 setup, or I've thought about those PRF Revolutions. I think they're pretty freaking cool. It's like a 5.56 size 308. Pretty wild stuff. Reading a study about building neck muscles and the correlation between eyesight speed being increased. What's eyeball balance? Huh. So by doing neck exercises like we would do in boxing, I'm guessing, or neck curls, and I mean, I do stuff like that every once in a while, not that often, but I mean, I think being stronger, being faster, I guess it would help, but the correlation between neck muscle and eyeballs is kind of a weird one. Dude, I got more scars than you'd believe. I don't need no more scars, no. I do not need any more of that. I'm trying to stay away from the knife. Yeah, the Steiners were going down in price for a little while, and then all of a sudden, people I guess started buying them up or something. But man, I like the 4X. I like it. I think I've never once been shooting yet out to maybe 400 yards where I was like trying to twist the dial off of my Steiner. I'm basically like four, I can see pretty well, and go. So it's almost better sometimes not to have more magnification because you do more at like 3 or 4 times, and some would probably say that that'll make you a better shooter in the long run to use less magnification and realize how helpful every times is. 1 by, 2 by, 3 by, 4 by. If you're, you know, if you look into it, you'd probably be really being able to do some work with just a little bit, and it would probably make you a better shooter. Of course, the better you can see when you're trying to shoot people, the better you can see, the better. So you don't whack somebody that don't need it. Squeeze the back of your neck and look left and right, moving head. Move your head back and forth or just your eyes? Or moving? I'll have to try it out. I'll have to do a session and see if it works. Oh man, how do you think non-Bushido martial arts like boxing, Muay Thai can apply to shooting in a meaningful way in a fast-paced combat sport? Oh man, so basically the only thing that even, well, probably the one sport that it really, or shouldn't even say sport, but martial arts and shooting are just together. I know that basically all the stance and all the footwork type stuff that I've put into my shooting to get better is all from martial arts. Some of it from field sports, some of it from regular sports, but just the way to attack things, the way to get better at things, the entire scope of how I teach this shit is all based on how you do it in martial arts of some sort. Mostly for me, boxing and wrestling, and then jiu-jitsu later on in life and stuff. So I think it's the same. And just like the UFC changed martial arts, the internet and shit is changing shooting. So as we get more and more film on everybody in the world, all these amazing shooters, it started to play a major role in the way we do things, training wise, practice wise, everything. Now we have everything at the end of our fingertips. It's the exact same as back in the day. What happened when the UFC started and different people started fighting different genres of martial arts to see which one's best. That's all just interwoven with shooting, for sure. And just the martial aspect of it, because we're not, I don't teach just USPSA shooting or just fast shooting or speed shooting or any of that shit. I teach defensive shooting and using performance shooting to better your defensive capabilities. So when we go through that kind of shit, we're constantly talking about the fight of it and not just shooting, but absolutely martial arts and shooting, they have to be the same thing. They have to be interwoven to be truly great at either one, I guess, in that context. Yeah, I mean, you don't need it, but martial arts are good to have, obviously. I think the crossover is getting more and more and more now, which is pretty cool. Um, so, best drills for rifle, somebody was asking me that, and honestly, to get good with an AR-15, just freaking do up drills and start really, really being able to manipulate the safety, manipulate the safety and the trigger all as one part, seeing the sights, trigger, safety, all of it, just getting that tuned in, and that's basically the whole beginning of getting good with an AR-15. It's so freaking easy. Go on a rant about Bullshido. Yeah, fuck yeah, I can always do that. Always do that. You'd be surprised. I get people send me shit on Instagram. Like Big Johnson sent me that thing of some guy getting hot brass in his collar or in the back of his shirt, and he's going like this with the gun, and then he reaches back like this. He ends up blowing off a couple rounds. It's like holy shit. I've seen that before. I think it's pretty old, but man, that's just like you fucking idiot. That's what you got to watch out for though in classes a lot, because you're side by side. You know, I don't run a lot of lines at all, so the time that people are in a line shooting in my classes is probably like 4 times, 5 times, for just a drill or two, just working on one thing. But when people are in a line, everybody's ejecting rounds right over. So you see a lot of people wearing stupid shit, and they'll end up with a piece of brass stuck to their neck, and then it's sketchy, sketchy. But I get messages on Instagram like, watch this guy or watch this guy, and it's crazy some of the shit that's out there. Bullshido masters everywhere, and I tell you what, it's more of it is probably veterans and shit than anything. People that never spend any real time in shit, and then they come out and they start just attacking other people's opinions, and some of the shit is just like, whoa, you are ridiculous. So Bullshido is everywhere. It ain't going away anytime soon. You'd think that nowadays, man, it's hard to get away with some dumb shit now, but that don't stop some people. Fucking crazy. Crazy. So, what I wanted to show you guys is what's in my range boxes. So this will make your practice and just your life so much easier when you go to the range. I don't like range bags. Now, I have a nice little bag that I'll take to a match or something, but that's it, just because it's a little easier, a little smaller, more compact. But these boxes are going to go with me basically everywhere. So, what it is, I'll just grab it. So, it's basically just a little roller box like this, and it's full of all kinds of shit. So, that little box is basically everything that I need, and there's 2 more of them if I'm teaching, but basically everything I need for a nice successful range day. I take the lid off of it, I can see each individual thing, I know exactly what I want to take to the range, everything's going to be efficient because I can roll right through shit. I've got just everything you'd be packing into a bag right there in a little freaking box that costs $5, and it's so much easier to have all that shit just stacked right there. And this is one of those little boxes you could probably throw under a seat in the back, or I don't know, throw in a trunk, whatever. But just simple shit. Simple shit. One thing, these are $3. $3 for 4 cones. Go to Walmart. They have these little cones in the little sports section. $3.50. Buy a couple of these. Keep them with you all the time. That way you can set up more little movement drills and all kinds of shit. You don't have to. You don't have to spend a lot of money on that kind of shit. Timer, simple shit. Oh, kind of out of the frame here. Oh yeah. All right, this shit right here, lifesaver. Spray adhesive, son. I'm telling you, this is where it's at. When you get all those little fun online drills that you can download and print, spray adhesive, one piece of cardboard lasts you all day. Just one piece of cardboard, keep throwing up a little spray adhesive, throw a new paper on there, new little drill or something. I like to do that stuff from Concealment. Some of those tougher little drills with the 1-inch circles and like the 3/7 drill and you know, hard, challenging stuff that's fun. And if I'm not going to the range for 4 hours or 6 hours or something, I'm just going to throw up some shit like that real quick, make it nice and simple, freaking rock on. So, I got a little bag. This is all I throw pistols in. Simple, cheaper than shit. Just something that'll sit in here so the guns aren't just flying around or laying all around. Couple sets of Ear Pro. I use these Walker Slims, Razor Slims. Prime time. Prime time. I think they're about $50. Something like that, but I've been rocking them for a while. Solid. Solid. Okay, we got some lube. We got a little thing full of tools and Allen wrenches and shit. We got some bug spray. We got some sunscreen. Okay, all kinds of shit. I got my tripod. Got a new tripod. Nice one. Nice one. So punches, little hammer, all kinds of little shit that I know that I can get my practice session done. 100%, no problem, easy as pie. I got everything I need. And all of this shit that's not actual firearms stays in these boxes. All I got to do is go from the safe to the box. Boom. Golden. It maximizes your practice. As far as target stand, stuff like that, obviously you need tons of magic markers, tons of permanent markers, tons of pasters, whatever your style is or however you do it. Having all that shit nice and laid out, set up, that's how you get to the range and have a freaking productive session that's not kind of running around, oh, I'll do a little of this, or I'll do a little of that, or the target's already all shot up or some bullshit, or I'm putting a gigantic silhouette out and not doing nothing but shooting it a couple hundred times. Like, get some better practice in you. Set up for success here. Have everything you need all ready to rock and roll. We got a little trauma kit. We got, you know, band-aids, shit like that, first aid kit, couple extra holsters, couple extra mag pouches. No matter what, we got her. We got her. Okay? So, that's basically the key to having good practice sessions. And those little boxes, I mean, you ain't got to do that, but they do help. And then I got a couple of these guys. Simple shit. Box full of magazines. Got 10, 15 Glock mags, some Beretta mags, some Glock 19 mags. All my mags just kind of laying in there, and then one that's full of whatever ammo I'm going to use for the day or so. So basically fill that thing up. I'll put, what I don't do is put a bunch of ammo in there because if I start shooting at the range, I'll shoot 600 rounds and be like, what are you doing? You're just wasting ammo. So I usually limit. I put whatever I'm going to put in there, and then that's my limit, right? So I don't end up sitting there shooting more and more and more without getting anything from it. Or if I'm kind of aggravated about a certain drill, you know, I don't want to sit there and just keep shooting it and shooting it and shooting it. So whenever I run out of ammo, I structure my sessions so that I'm doing 150 rounds of this or that, or an hour or two of this or that, and then moving on to something else. Just general ideas, just general things to work on when I get there. You know, some strong hand, weak hand. Maybe I'm going to work on short movements to the left, or getting out of position while kind of rolling through a tough shot, or some kind of shit like that. And I'll base 100 rounds on this, and 100 rounds on that, 100 rounds on this, and then I'm gone. So I try to take my time when I'm at the range and take a nice little deep breath between every rep. Besides when I'm doing videos and shit, then I just kind of roll. But I like to take my time in my practice, visualize, do all that kind of shit. But I don't like to just sit there and, you know, blow rounds. Kind of chill and get my thoughts between each thing, think about things, trying to get better, and then just limit myself to about 300, maybe 400 rounds sometimes. The stud. Shit, you got a cataract going on? One to go. Cataract surgery is probably a bitch. That's the best way to train them boxes. I can't really get into range bags. I like boxes. I think they're easier. Then, as far as competition gear goes, I just use a double alpha belt, double alpha racer pouches, simple shit, and the Ben Steger holster, but it was just on sale when I ordered all this other shit, so I ended up buying that too. It's been solid, but it is a different style of holster. So, if you're one of those guys that like really needs to have that click, this one don't have it, right? All it does is just kind of get stuck in there at the bottom. It does not click or none of that shit. But it is very fast, and it does retain. It's just, it doesn't have that perfect little click. I think with some guns, this holster might have that little click, because it's basically the same general concept as any other holster. I just know with this one, it doesn't, but I kind of like that. I'm not a person that really needs that click. I kind of like that it just kind of lays in there with some retention, and when I go to snatch it out, all good. Now for 3-gun, I probably wouldn't run this. I'd probably run a level 2 for 3-gun, which next year I plan on dabbling in 3-gun a little bit more. I did before, but then just took a long time. Not really going to go down that road. I was going to go down that road pretty hard. I went down it a little ways, and then I'm like, I just want to get really good at pistol, and then I'll worry about how to load a shotgun good. And then, so now next year, I might dabble in the old 3-gun a little bit more. I got a Mossberg 940 that I got on layaway that I'm going to try to scoop up. Those things are sick, but they're expensive. I thought it was going to be like the same as the 930 and be like $750 maybe a little more expensive. I looked, I'm like, dude, how much can you get me one for? And I was like, $950. I'm like, damn, son, that's a little bit. Like, chew. But it's pretty sick, and I loved my 930 JM. I loved that thing. I sold it to a guy thinking I'm gonna get that 940, but then they weren't available. And then people were like, well, if you spend $1,000 almost on that 940, why not just get a Benelli M2? It's like, yeah, okay, $1,200, $1,300, get a Benelli M2, but then you got to spend $300 on it. That 940 is at least, it's ready. That thing is ready, and it's set up. It's nice. Lifter's all done. So I was a little quick on the trigger selling my 930, but it had some work done to it. and that's what I would want to get. The 1301, the blue competition ones. That's what I'd fucking. That's what I'd rather get. But I do like the Mossberg tang safety. But yeah, my 930, it had a ported loading ramp and shit all pimped out and set up and rounded over and everything, and it was pretty solid. Had some stippling, but I loved that thing. Everybody said they were finicky and shit. Mine ran like a top. It ran crazy good. It would eat anything, and I just really liked it. But guy offered me, I think, gave me $900 for it. It had a lot of rounds, or $800 for it. It had a lot of rounds and some work done to it, but I did all of it myself except for just the machining around the loading port, and then I told them to leave it raw, and I finished it all. But my local gunsmith did the work for me. Pretty solid. Walking multi-gun course with Shannon today, yeah. That's coming up. That's this weekend, right? For concealment gear, I'm really easy. I use a Harry's holster. I use this an NSR holster. Got Philster holster. JM Custom Kydex. Any of them are going to be prime time. Some other outside the waistband gear, but same old shit. Just simple stuff. Simple holsters, simple stuff. I like to keep her simple. Blue Alpha Gear belts. Can't beat them. $40 freaking dollars. Belt that'll last a lifetime. Every one of them. I got a couple of them. There's one that I wear like every day. Don't care if I get it dirty or whatever. And it's still perfectly solid shit. Nice. For the price, you can't beat that. The core stuff is really good too. But I think it's just a little more expensive. And the Blue Alpha Gear stuff for the price is about as good as you're ever going to get. This is a JM Custom Kydex unit. Really, really good stuff. Really good stuff. Yeah, I got reloading stuff I'm going to save for... I got a big project coming up in the fall. Side project, construction-wise, coming up in the fall that'll net me a couple bucks. So that's when I'm going to just buy all the reloading shit that I need, all one foul swoop, spend the however much it costs me, a couple grand if I got to. All the materials, everything, the whole fucking 9 yards, just have it all delivered, one lump sum, set it all up, put it all together, and then start reloading. But I just don't feel like piecing it out at all. So I'm going to wait for that. That'll be in the fall. I'm going to build a big giant pond for my buddy, and that'll be good. But I got too many expenses trying to buy another bike, and the old lady's looking at houses and shit. So it's like, yeah, the 1301s are pretty sick. Pass me that joint, buddy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, G-code stuff's pretty solid. I see their stuff on Instagram. Always looks like solid shit, and they've been around forever. You know, I've never really used their stuff personally. They always have big giveaways and shit. I'd like to win some shit from them. Good source to buy what? Holster retention straps. You mean like soft loops? Like these? Damn, I think a lot of people would probably sell these. Um, I guarantee probably Harry's Holsters has got them. Just extra ones for sale. I guarantee it. Look up Harry's Holsters real fast. If you're watching this on your phone, I'll look it up for you. So, I would imagine that Harry's Holsters has got shit like that. And then I know there's a company called like holstermaker.com where you can order kits, you know, because I've looked at making my own mag pouches and shit. I'm mechanically inclined to do that. I just never pulled the trigger and did it. But I mean, obviously they wouldn't be quality shit like Harry's or something or this or but they would be. I could make them decent enough, and there's this holstermaker.com, which they sell soft loops and everything else. They sell every piece of Kydex, little rivets and all that shit. So, but I would highly imagine that Harry's Holsters has those clips for sale. We'll look at his website real fast here. Any other questions on gear or guns or anything like that? Because I'm not good at remembering these questions. So if you guys have questions, ask them. Hardware. So go to Harry's Holsters, yeah. And go to the hardware section. And he looks like he's got clips and doodads. And wedges. So you could buy clips. Ooh, doesn't look like he has any soft loops for sale though. Harry's big on the clips. He does sell them with soft loops, but yeah, if you go to Philster or Harry's, don't look like on his website he has soft loops, but I guarantee if you called him, he'd probably sell you a pair of soft loops because he has them on his holsters. Or Philster probably sells them, or anybody. But that holstermaker.com, if any of you guys want to get into holster making or mag pouch, like I was thinking about making some mag pouches for ARs and just stupid shit. So yeah, you guys do Kydex knife sheaths and shit, don't you? Or do you just make the knives and sub the sheaths? Yeah. I like soft loops. I'm a soft loop guy. I like soft loops for sure. Be surprised how good you can do. Yeah, yeah. If you're, like I'm mechanically inclined enough as far as the gun stupid shit and all this I modify all my holsters. Like this shape of this filster and the flare out, which has kind of gone back to normal now because it's been sitting for so long. But the shape of all this, and see how the soft loops are rounded with the one where my finger hits. So those are little modifications that I'll make to my holsters, and then I'll basically just take the Dremel, some sandpaper, and smooth out all the edges, and then you can take a lighter and kind of roll around the edges and melt them a little bit, flatten them. But as far as soft loops go, every single one of my holsters has this soft loop rounded. So I cut all the extra material away from the soft loop, so it's around the button perfect, and that doesn't. That's one less place that I get smacked, because when you're drawing hard and fast on the old appendix all the time, every little thing that hits your finger or smashes your knuckle or whatever is going to start leaving a mark. So. Yeah, if you can do stippling and shit like that, you can definitely do your own holsters. All of Harry's holsters should work for a G17. He makes his holsters G17 length. All of his 19 holsters are G17 length. I know that. At least I'm almost positive that all of his 19 length holsters, because I think that's how I actually got talking to Harry, is he watched a video about me talking about longer AIWB holsters are actually better than short ones because they don't flip over the belt and dig into you and don't do weird shit when they're longer because they have more surface area and more leverage underneath the belt than over the belt. and I'm pretty sure that's where I started talking to Harry a year or two ago. Or, well, I guess it had to be in the last year. I haven't been on YouTube for very long. Oh yeah, spotlight crack. I'll tell you, he uses the thinner stuff, but I personally like the thinner stuff. I like the holster to be as pliable as possible. But yeah, I've never had any problems with this one. This one's got a good bit of miles on it. I haven't been using it. One reason is because the X300 that I had that I always carried with and stuff is at my brother's, and I have another X300, but that's on a dedicated pistola sitting in a dedicated place. Yeah, Filster solid. Filster solid. And Harry's too, yeah. Harry's has got so much. Filster just came out with that cool new smaller holster, and it's kind of reminds me of Harry's. Harry just does a lot of thinking on the adjustment and all the little shit. But the new Filster holster, the smaller one, looks cool. For sure. The floodlight one that's universal, it's a bit of a handful. The spotlight is a big holster. Now, that's a big thing to shove inside your nuts. Okay? But it's just small enough. Whereas the floodlight is a nice little pinch bigger than this, and it's a bit of a handful. Like, it's really cool to be able to stick an X300 on my Beretta or whatever, stick it on, nothing, no big deal. Because I used one of a buddy of mine's for about a month. And I'm just like, man, it's really good for range work, and really good if you were, for sure, if you were doing security. If you were doing team security or HVT or whatever, that would be pretty prime. Standing up all day, you can wear damn near anything. Don't matter how big the holster is or gun or whatever. If you're standing up for 90% of the time, you can wear anything. Yes, sir. So, AR triggers. Somebody asked me about AR-15 triggers. Now, I'm not too big of a trigger snob or anything, but I do prefer the Geisley. The flat Geisleys are just, I don't know what it is, but love the flat Geisleys. Now, those are obviously pretty sick too. I've only ever got to try one of those, the Trigger Tech Diamonds, but I've heard that they're basically the shiznit. I have used the 3-gun trigger, and I didn't really like it that much. I could run it fast, but that was basically the only time that I liked it more. Basically, I could get like 12 and 13 splits instead of like 14 and 15. So I could run it a little bit faster, but I like the 2-stage. The SDC is what I use, and it's basically like the enhanced ones, but the flat stage or the flat face and shit. So it's pretty nice. Pretty nice. I'll tell you what, another trigger though that I really like is this one. Is a cheaper trigger. Okay, so it's a Hyperfire EDT3. So Hyperfire has their $250 Pimp Daddy super fast triggers that are they're pretty awesome. But they also sell several of these, and this one is like the best cheaper one or duty style one or whatever that they sell. So it's got a bit of a curved face and a little bit of a flat face, which is actually super cool when you're shooting it because you're getting on that flat face just perfect, and it's kind of like a reference. Um, but this trigger right here is a single stage, maybe 3.5 pounder, and it is freaking money, pretty freaking money, and they're only $99, $100, I'm pretty sure. So if you're looking for an AR trigger that's not one of the higher, the guys lead trigger tech or Hyperfire stuff, if you're looking for something that's under $100, that Hyperfire EDT is pretty sick, pretty amazing for what it is. It's honestly, it's good enough that I wouldn't ever really even care to upgrade it. I've had it for a long time, and that's really why I haven't ever. But I have another one more rifle, and then that's just has a Geisley SSA, something like that, the curved one from years ago. Pretty good too. Can't really beat them. PCC as an effective rifle training tool. Oh yeah, for a training tool for sure. Seems like people don't have local multi. Yeah, yeah, for sure. If you're doing 3-gun, then I'd be running PCC every once in a while and USPSA for sure, because I think it's a little bit faster pace. If you, obviously, 3-gun shooting's really fast as far as rifle goes because it's 2 hits anywhere or 1 hit in the A. So, but I think that the faster pace of movement and everything, as far as a little shorter, more aggressive stages and all that, that would be sick to really push with PCC, and then your rifle skills would for sure get better. I personally like PCCs for home defense. I know a lot of people talk a bunch of shit about it, but hey, a lot of people use this right here for home defense and nobody bats an eye. And it's like, well, we all know that we can shred with this thing a whole lot better than with the pistol. So why not? I mean, I just don't get it. If I had PCCs or had a PCC set up as a home defense tool, I'd be running it. I mean, people don't like to get shot. It don't matter what it's with. People don't like it. So, yeah, I think PCC is a good substitute. PCC and USPSA, a lot of people, do that whole thing, but hey, I don't know why people worry about it or get upset about it. The PCC guys beat people, like in the overall match. Who gives a shit? Who really gives a shit? I mean, but there is some things that they could probably change rule-wise for PCC and pistol and everything, but right now it's like, shit, I think it's nice. Yeah, and PCC, you can do plate racks and shit. I mean, it's something that I need to get into, something that I need to buy and eventually get into just a cheap, nice PCC, one that'll work, AR style, nothing special. I know nowadays you can put one together, or well, probably best to buy one of those, but buy a decent AR type one for probably $1,000, and then go from there. Throw a red dot on it and start ripping. Probably, yeah. Yeah. I got hit with a piece of steel right in the leg, or a piece of bullet right in the leg. I was standing probably 10 yards from that little tree, but that little tree that I have at my range isn't, the bar in between isn't perfect, or isn't solid, really good steel. So if you hit it, you got a chance of catching a little something something. Or if you hit the plate right on the inside, you might you might eat a little bit of bullet if you're unlucky. But I got smacked with a piece. I was like, damn it, digging that shit out of you, getting lead poison. But the reason I don't get, like, nowadays things are getting more and more kind of regimented at the place where my range is, right? It's just my buddy's place. We have a moto track and a range and all this stuff. So, but people go there, and the reason I don't have a lot of good steel laying around is because people go there and they're so stupid they don't know. Most gun owners don't know that if you shoot a steel target with 5.56 from 22 feet away, it's not going to be a good day, right? It's going to either eat holes right through my steel, or it's going to blow back and hit you in the face. So people go out there and then shoot up all the steel targets. It's just, so I can't, that's the one thing that I really want, is to get a plate rack and everything and really set that place up good, but we're a little ways away from that. Why do I think two gun is not more popular? Man, I don't know. I don't know. I guess what started making three gun popular was Three Gun Nation. Three Gun Nation started doing all this stuff and the TV stuff and all this shit's happening, and Top Shot or whatever, and it just blew up a little bit there. And now three gun's a thing. Two gun is, I mean, I like shotgun. The shotgun shooting part of three gun is a blast. The shotgun loading part of three gun sucks. But I do like shotgun. I like the whole shooting shotgun part of three gun. But two gun could be awesome. Like, they could legitimately make two gun awesome. Problem is there's no they. There's no governing body. There's no sanctioning body. The rules are different everywhere. Even three gun at this point, but people still look at three gun as something that's been around for a while, so it doesn't get as much scrutiny. Two gun is just, there. What's the rules? Like, there's no real two gun. When it's USPSA multi gun and two gun, then that's something that needs to be grown, needs to be worked on. Is USPSA multi gun two gun. And make some real shit, make some real legitimate rules that can be passed on, invite other places to have them, and then push it. And I think it'd be a freaking blast. All paper, steel out to some range every once in a while, but if it was up to me, I would run it basically like USPSA with rifles, and not do a lot of steel up close with the rifle, obviously, and just basically run paper and freaking shred, and all the stages be mostly, close ripping, but you could also incorporate some different stuff. With the rifle, just because the shot's only 20 yards doesn't mean it can't be a partial or a no shoot or something with only this much of the A zone showing. I mean, or just make it a tuxedo that's got a sliver this wide at 20 yards. Make the shit hard, make some rifle stuff, some pistol stuff, and then just have one stage or two stages max where you actually shoot the rifle out to 100 yards or 200 yards, depending on wherever. You can make it a freaking blast and make it kind of standardized, and it would be sick. But now, two gun, when you go to one place and shoot a two gun match and another place and shoot a two gun match, they could be just worlds apart. Just because I've done it. I went to outlaw two gun matches and had a blast, and then I went to one where it was like, what the hell's going on here? This is whack. They had us doing all kinds of weird shit. It was, tried too hard and it failed. All right, I'll check it out. Yeah, if USPSA backed it and really got behind multi-gun 2-gun or multi-gun 3-gun really, and pushed it instead of just kind of having it, it would be different. But the two gun thing now, it's just kind of all over the place. If they would just make it standardized, it would go. And make the stages, like I said, fun. Make it a blast. Make it shredding, and then make it kind of difficult, or different stuff, or stages, or positional stuff where you're adding in a little bit more IDPA type. You have to shoot this stage like this kind of shit. I think would be cool. Instead of letting it as free roam as USPSA is, the two gun stuff, maybe melt together a little IDPA type shit in there, and have actual shooting positions and different things as you go through the stage. That'd be one way to make it really interesting. Right. I that's what I think would be really cool with the PRS matches. You got a primary and a secondary. You got to neutralize the course of fire with a primary and a secondary. Have little knockover steel or falling steel at this spot or this spot or whatever, and make the pistol shots kind of difficult too. It could be more of an accuracy based thing even for pistol on some of the stages, but you could do some fun shit with that. At the PRS matches now, there's no real secondary. It's just rifle. Too many guys unsafe. Yeah, that's a bummer. I mean, it is tough to run shit. Safety's such a freaking hassle with everything. And that's why USPSA does it well. The rules are the rules are the rules. Let's try to follow them as best we can. Just go by the book. And everything is so much easier. Even when small matches and stuff do weird shit, like we don't really enforce that there, it's almost like, man, just go by the rules. Just straight up go by the rules. Make everything standardized. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, you could make multi-gun, two-gun, freaking blast. You could do whatever with it. Make it a good time. But especially nowadays, like more performance shooting, even with the rifle, pistol, whatever, or rifle and pistol together. Like a lot of ninjas want to do that. They really do. A lot of you or Instagram guys are like all about that. So people do like that shit, and it would be fun to really implement it in competition. It is a tough thing safety wise, because if you're going to be real about it, we should be using a slinged rifle, a primary and a secondary, and have to be good at slinging the rifle behind the back to go do different things, or to shoot primary pistol after that, and really to be really legitimately cool as shit. It would have to skirt on the rules as far as the safety type of stuff. Like it would have to be big boy rules a little bit, but it's too hard, and people are idiots. Yeah, 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 and it could be two gun with PCC too. It doesn't have to be AR-15s. Christ, AR-15s shoot softer than PCCs, so if you do a lot of PCC work and then shoot a nice shooting, soft shooting AR-15, it's like same. Like the AR recoil impulse is a little different, but it's basically just as easy. A little more report, a little bit more, perceived, probably blast and recoil and everything else, but Right, that's what I mean by the safety shit being tough. If it was really cool, you'd be slinged up. Primary, secondary on you at all times, just about. Have some table starts and some put downs, and dump in the barrels and shit like that. Have some of that, and then have slinged courses where you really got to be pretty slick with your sling work. Even running the PCC dry, going to pistol, putting the pistol away, running the pistol dry, putting the pistol away, loading the PCC. I mean, that you could come up with some fun shit and make it semi-safe. It'd just be tough to enforce. It'd be tough to work around. Force recon, 2-gun matches. Okay. Yeah, that's definitely shit that would be fun. Now, I want to talk to you guys, get your opinion on all this shit that's going on in the world. In Minneapolis and all that kind of stuff. What do you guys think about that crazy shit? And what do you think is a real suggestion to go forward as far as things needing to be changed, police policies and stuff like that? Do you think that the riots help or hurt? I'd like to gauge people's opinions on this shit. Riots versus protests, shit like that. If anybody even wants to say. Because I think it's wild. I think it's pretty interesting stuff. Hopefully we'll get to see some changes in the way things are done. And hopefully this will spark some people to get crazy and get some plans together, and make people think about what's going on. Got some unpopular opinions. Oh, you think that he died because he was having a heart failure, and not because of that guy on him? Well, I'll tell you this. That what I'm really aggravated about is just the length of that altercation. Truly, I think that technique is a valid technique, but you can't just sit there, right? And one thing that we did, a friend of mine, we were wrestling around, getting a little bit of jiu-jitsu work in, because there's no gyms open, nobody's doing anything, and so we were working, just messing around, and so I put my hands behind my back and laid down and had him kind of kneel just the same way. And one thing that people don't understand is when your hands are handcuffed behind your back and you're laying flat, you're in a rough spot. It's like a shitty way to breathe, period. So I was like, damn, this sucks. Like, this shitty. So just sitting there, just nothing going on. And then the second I got any pressure on my back or my neck, I'm like, yo, I can't breathe very well. Now I can breathe, technically. Like, I can't say that I can't breathe, but I'm having a hard, like, I'm laboring. So the thing that, even after doing that little experiment, what really got to me was just, the thing that pisses me off about it is just the length of that dude sitting on that dude's neck. Like, what are you doing? You've clearly got this guy subdued. He's handcuffed. Even if he starts bucking or moving around, he's handcuffed. What are y'all doing for this amount of time? Why are you still kneeling on his neck? And then after we did that the other night, I'm like, dude, that's just too long. Just what are you doing to sit there on him? Because I legitimately went as long as I could with my buddy putting a lot of pressure on my neck. I think it was 45 seconds to a minute before I'm like, nah, I'm done. I'm done with that. Like, I can still technically breathe, but I could feel myself slowly getting to that point. And the bad part is as he moves around, it's hard to breathe because of suffocation, asphyxiation, kind of in a weird position type thing. But as he moves around a little bit, it's cutting off the blood to my neck. It's just the same as a rear naked choke or anything else, where it's a carotid restraint. And next thing you know, I'm like getting a little lightheaded. And then he would move slightly, and I'm getting blood flow again. And then he moved slightly, and I'm like, damn, I can't breathe very good, but I'm getting blood flow. And then the blood flow would cut off, and a minute later, I'm like, nah, I'm done. That dude sat there on that guy for a while. And I believe that, yeah, probably because he was definitely on some shit. No doubt about that. But that combined with the stress of that whole incident and then the stress of that dude being on him and him trying to breathe through it and thinking, I'm about to die. It just can't, I mean, craziness. It's crazy. I'm a police pursuer. Why majority of the time, but too far. Hey, yeah, I think that guy was just, he was just pulling a bully moment right there. Like, people are like, dude, why are you on it? Like, what I'm thinking, though, when I'm watching that video is, I swear to God, I would have had to say, hey, look, you got to arrest me, dog. You got to get off his neck. Like, you, especially when the dude passed out and he's laying there, you got to get off of him, dude. We're going to go. I'm sorry, but we're going to go, badge or not. And you're going to have to put me in there and sit on my neck because, I mean, yeah, I mean, in my life, I've seen plenty of people on drugs, so it's just too much, man. Whether the drugs helped it along or whatever else, it's whew. Lack of martial arts, exactly. Why was he kneeling on somebody's neck like that? Now that's where this thing in court's going to get interesting because it's actually a permitted policy that you are allowed to kneel on the upper back neck area of a suspect while you get them subdued. The only problem is it says while you get them under control. Well, that dude is handcuffed. He's handcuffed and smashed up against a vehicle damn near. I mean, I would call that controlled. Why are you still doing it? That's where it's going to be really iffy because it is under policy technically. But the problem is that guy, he had no idea about blood. What the cops do, this is a cop thing. All right? This is something where cops that don't know any better, that don't train jiu-jitsu or train martial arts, they don't know any better, and they say, if the guy's talking, he can breathe. So people will be sitting there saying, I can't breathe. And they're like, oh, well, you're talking, you can breathe. Yeah, numbnuts, but you might be cutting off the blood to his brain. He can still talk if you're cutting off the blood to his brain. You can talk your way out of sleep while somebody's got you in a rear naked choke. Talk, dead. Okay? Because once he goes out, you keep that amount of blood choked off and you just sit there on it. Don't take long, couple minutes, your brain dies. So it's absolutely, I just think the whole mentality's got to change, man. And I'm going to tell you what, I hope to God that this instance can get the officers around, okay? Of course, that guy that was acting like a bully, and he just sat on that dude's neck because people were telling him not to. That's all that was. He's sitting there saying, hey, check it out. I'm just not going to listen to you. I'm not going to do that now because you asked me to. Because you told me to get off his neck, I'm not going to do that anymore. And you could see that. You could absolutely see that. That's all that reason was. And then when the dude went out, he didn't even look at him. He just sat there the rest of the damn time. But the problem I have with it, the biggest problem is, and where I hope it goes in court and this whole thing, is that the dudes around him, the other police officers around him, just watching something. Like, it don't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you've ever taken a martial arts class or know anything about the human body or martial arts or medicine or anything. It don't matter who you are. You're watching somebody kneel on somebody's neck, and then this dude goes basically unresponsive. I don't give a shit who you are. A 4-year-old would be like, "Hey, dog, I think you're hurting that fella. Why don't you get up off of him?" So the other cops that just sit there and stare at that shit and don't ever say nothing, man, I think you gotta be hard on them fools. And that's the only way that police stuff is gonna change. The only way, I believe, is if other cops have the incentive not to rat on their buddies or whatever. I ain't saying that, but to stop a situation in real time. All he had to do was walk over to him, whisper in his ear, not even make it public, not even make it known that he said that. Just whisper in his ear and be like, "Dude, that's enough. Get off this fool." Is that so hard? What? Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. What's going to happen in one of those situations where one of us walks up on board and sees this son bitch going on, the same sort of kind of stuff going on? Hey, you are obviously taking this a step too far. Hey, what are you doing? And then a civilian goes hands on or says, "What's up, dog? You're going to stop doing that to that human right now. I know you got a badge on, but now we're equal. What are you doing?" And I really want to see, I don't want to ever see that happen because it's probably not going to go well. But I would love to see how that would play. Because we have the Second Amendment, but if anyone ever uses it, then what happens? You know, we talk all the time about our rights being trampled on at the legislative level, but we hardly ever talk about how people that use their Second Amendment rights, and if we're Second Amendment absolutists, which a lot of people are, that Second Amendment right thing, it means more than kind of what we think. And a lot of people that exercise it, they end up going to prison, or going to jail, or at least having a lot of trouble with shit. Yeah, the accountability thing and being able to stop your fellow officer from doing some shit has to be a new thing. It has to be put out there. This is some kind of stuff that, some kind of moonshine, fruit, watermelon-y shit that somebody made for me and gave me, and pretty good stuff. Cops are wrong as hell, however they do. Okay, so this is another story that I heard on this shit today. That dude that actually did it. So there's the whole racial side to it, and I truly don't think. I didn't think. Obviously, we'll see what evidence comes out because they're going to go deep into this, and on the racial side of it, on the legal side of it, on the department policy side of it, they're going to go balls deep in this one because there's so many people clamoring for it. Hell, there's riots going on. So, what's crazy is though I heard that this guy in like 2011 or something put or got like 10 or 11 complaints put on him for racial shit and all kinds of stuff. So this guy is looking rough. Okay, the whole thing's gonna look rough. And then the chick that ran for president was the district attorney and did not do shit, didn't go after this cop in 2011 or whenever, when he had a whole bunch of complaints for racial stuff and everything else. So there's a lot of little shit that'll come to pass with this. But if it does turn out that it was racially motivated, I mean, obviously it wasn't racially motivated in the moment, but if it turns out that this guy has multiple things about racial shit or this or that, it's going to be a big pain in the ass. I just hate the whole racial part of the whole thing. I really, really, really wish everybody would just get on the same page and be like, government overreach is the problem. Not black, white, whatever. Just government overreach. Let's just all hate the government, okay? Let's all want smaller, less powerful government. White, black, purple, who cares about that shit for just a second? We can argue about that later. But if everybody would just get on board and be like, government overreach, bad, we could actually get some shit done. Because now it looks like black people are pissed about this. That's what it's going to look like, and that's the narrative that they're going to paint. What it should be is everyone is pissed about this, and then it would be a much stronger message. But with the looting going on, the rioting going on, and then the mainstream media is going to push the racial thing, and it's going to look like, again, black people versus the police, or black people versus the government. What it needs to look like is everybody versus the government overreach, the order following bullshit, the thin blue line that's protecting this kind of bullshit. Like, let's just knock all that out and try to get the government a little bit closer down to our level. Like, just, can we please? We can't just throw away the whole system and go back, start from scratch. Lots of people like to talk that way, but it just, if we could, we would, but that's a whole lot of work, and a lot of people ain't ready for that day's work. So we got to get government back down on our level. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Better to point a camera at that. The problem is, though, is they're actively killing someone, potentially, in that moment. So what do you do? And yes, if it was a family member, it'd be a tough thing. I might have to just, El Presidente the whole situation real quick. You know what I mean? Damn, that'd be tough. There's some wild shit. The whole race card, everything's gonna get crazy, and this is all you're gonna hear about for the next month, probably. All this shit, and then people are, the looting and all that kind of shit. That's just opportunity for fuckheads. That ain't real people that give a shit about real stuff, and that ain't people that give a shit about other people. Those are just people that are like, oh, some shit's happening, I'm gonna use it to my advantage. I mean, I'm telling you, exactly. This COVID shit, everybody's saying, will it ever get back to normal? 2 years from now, you're gonna be like, remember that shit? Remember that spring that was all fucked up from COVID-19 or the coronavirus? Like, you remember that? People are gonna be like, yeah, that shit was crazy. Fucking coronavirus ain't gonna change shit. Especially the more and more we get a handle on it, more and more everybody, a little bit of news, and next thing you know, coronavirus is gonna be gone. It's gonna fade away. Hopefully, damn, but guaranteed 2 years from now you're gonna be like, remember that shit? This will be a crazy news cycle, though. Especially, like I said, if they go back in that dude's past and find racial shit it's going to start becoming a thing. And then I just wish black people would start arming up and getting more in tune with what we're doing. You know, just hey. I know that the Democrats and mainstream media have told you your whole lives that these rights and shit are exclusive, one way or the other, one weird way or another. You know, black people don't think about going out and getting their concealed carry permit and shit. Not nearly at the rate that white people do, and it's all because of brainwashing over the years, all because of bullshit. Like, just start thinking more like us on some of these issues and shit. You see a little different attitude when it's an armed protest, when it's a bunch of responsibly armed citizens doing something, than just a pile of people. Like, it's just, hopefully that's what we can get happening. And there's a lot of people that are doing good shit. Guys on Instagram and things that I follow that are really trying to push that stuff, getting guns and responsible gun ownership, responsible armed citizenship, responsible carry, and all that kind of shit, more, taking a hold in inner cities and stuff, so good people can start to have some teeth. One, against shitty people, and two, against the government. Oh, the culture in the police force needs to change 100%, man. Have you tried discreet carry concepts, metal clips? Yeah, I like them. I'm a soft loop guy. I really do like soft loops, but the discrete carry concepts are the best ones. If you're going clips, they're the only ones really to buy. But yeah, police culture. This is what needs to change. Team police. The thin blue line. Team police versus everybody else needs to change. And from the second you're in the academy to the whole recruiting process, because trust me, a couple of years ago I was really thinking about joining the police force and being a cop, especially with all my experience. And the funny thing was, with all my experience and shit that I knew, the hiring process, they want goody two-shoe people that ain't never been in some shit or have never done anything wrong. So I was like, man, am I even gonna, talking to different people and talking to representatives and the sheriff and shit, I'm like, am I even gonna be able to do this? And he's like, I'm like, you know what? Like, if you want goody two-shoe kids off the street, why do you think that all this shit keeps happening? Why do you think that people are shooting motherfuckers everywhere? Like, so I am pro police in some ways, but I'm just not happy with it, man. Not at all. I think that's a job, and I think it's a job that needs to be done. Especially where we're at right now, the way this thing is developed, the way the whole police state and everything is developed. It is a job that needs to be done, but it needs to be done better. Man, it needs to be done better. That whole brainwashing mentality, man, that shit's got to go. Trump, man, but he's done more for blacks than any president in 50 years. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. Yeah, and just getting black people on the team of responsibly armed citizens, man, like real deal, lasered in. Because, I actually get a lot of guys. It's pretty cool, for my channel, as far as my black audience, white audience, other Hispanic, whatever. I have several black guys that have taken training from me and that live in different places and different cities and shit. And it's really good to hear, but they're constantly telling me about the plight of trying to get their buddies on board, right? Trying to get this person and their parents, and it's just a different culture. It's a different thing, and they've been shielded almost from gun rights. like shielded from people truly telling them, the NRA looks like this group of just fud ass white dudes and shit. Like everything they see of gun ownership is redneck white dude shit. And it's like, nah, it's not really like that. Like, this shit is for everybody. And the more you get tuned in, the fucking better you're going to be. So it's hard to get people on that board, on that trip, but it's possible. And it is definitely hard, but man, responsibly armed citizens being in every freaking community. Inner cities, the stereotype and the bullshit that goes on in inner cities, if everybody in them inner cities was tuned in on gun rights, knew what they could do, and started really pushing for it, started voting some of the bullshit out, inner cities would start looking a whole lot different. A freaking whole lot different. Change that culture just around guns. Don't take the guns out the city, put them in it. and watch shit happen. Watch inner cities change one by one. Freaking teaching people responsibly armed citizens, black, white, Hispanic, whatever. Guns aren't something to be afraid of. Guns ain't something that are illegal. Because most people, when they think about guns, they're constantly thinking about illegal. They don't have a clue how much rights they actually have. Like, most people running around ain't felons or have some sort of prohibitive factors to them. Most people can go get their shit, go get their concealed carry, go get their stuff. A lot of cities are Democrat ran and have horrible gun laws, but a lot of them ain't. I talked to tons of people in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh and stuff, and they're just like, man, we always just viewed guns as gangster shit and not for us, responsibly armed citizens, yeah, they just, everything from movies to mainstream media to everything telling them that guns are the tools of the bad guy or the tools of the police. And it's still like that, but the more the internet's out there, the more, honestly, the more black people get involved, the more black people are going to get involved. That's just how it is. People want to see somebody that looks like them doing the shit. I mean, the more women that get involved, the more women that get, that's just how it is. For some reason, Asian people like guns. You know what I'm saying? Asian guys love this shit. So we got that. Just need to get Spanish, Latino, Hispanic, and black people tuned in. Shit, government will really have to worry about what's going on. We got the Asians already. They love that shit. They're like all about it. Hell yeah, YouTube tries to censor it. Mainstream media is always painting that same old shit, painting the same old freaking bullshit. Everybody is. Everybody. It's just, what are you supposed to think? When you grow up and something is presented to you in a certain way always, and you don't have, Uncle Billy to teach you some shit that's different or have a different perspective or know, just be knowledgeable on something, shit, it's just tough to get out of that. It's tough to learn new shit if you're always surrounded by the same stuff. I need to get more and more of that going on. So, yeah, pretty productive, not really productive, but pretty productive chat. Yeah, this is some watermelon, moonshine, mango bullshit. I don't know. It's kind of like a orange color, pinkish color. It's pretty good. I don't know how much alcohol's in it, so I just drank one glass of it and thought, I'll just kind of see. I have no idea. I mean, it's got a little shot to it, but I'm like, I better just chill on it. End up halfway drunk after an hour. Yeah. Huh. Yeah, and that's the thing, man. The more trained you are, the less likely you're going to get into a situation, period, and the less likely you're going to have to use lethal force, especially when it comes to hand-to-hand shit. or even the way you carry yourself. And you don't want to be cocky or arrogant, but just carrying yourself in a way that it's honestly all in facial expressions. You can look at somebody and be like, nah, and they'll be like, all right. I mean, it's just the way you carry yourself, and having a pistol on you, knowing what you're doing with it, is going to add to that. It's going to help you in that area, and then knowing how to handle yourself hand to hand, it's going to help you as well. So, but you'd be surprised, just that good look at somebody and be like, no, all of a sudden you got a different demeanor. And I talk about this in my defensive carry classes. I talk about being rude. A lot of people just don't know how to be rude to someone, and they get predatorialized just by allowing someone to close the distance, allowing someone to ask them 14 questions, and they don't want to be rude. So they're literally getting into a shitty purpose, or shouldn't have read that at the same time, into a shitty position in a shitty place with a would-be possible predator, and they don't want to be rude. So they allow this shit to start happening and happening and happening. Next thing you know, all of a sudden you're kind of trapped. They've impeded your movement, which is what they're aiming to do. No matter what, almost always, that person is going to want to steer you, impede your movement, stop you, whatever it is, into whatever they're thinking is their best option. And people that don't want to be rude, they just, you gotta be like, yeah, I'll answer 2 questions. Nah, I ain't got $1. Nah, I don't have a cigarette. Nah, or, somebody asks you the time. All right, man, I'll give you that. Okay. Or bang, watch. Or, okay, it's 10:20. Second question, different face, different demeanor. Nah, we're not doing it. Like, peace. And then immediately people are like, that's not the one. I tell folks, like, guys that are hanging around at gas stations, or when you're traveling and they're trying to sell you dumb shit or whatever it is, you never know which one of those people are completely innocent and completely ready to jack you up. So treat them all the exact same way, and just be short, be rude when you got to. Nah, man, see ya. Like, it's super easy to do. A lot of people won't do it. Now, don't be a total dick about it and actually get yourself into a fight. But yeah, when you're traveling, you're checking into the hotel, you're getting your bags out of the hotel or out of the car or whatever. There dude's hanging out in the parking lot, or you're in different places, kind of looking around or going to different spots. You're gonna encounter it constantly, and you get good at it though too. That's all practice. That's all just managing unknown contacts practice. And what happens is that a lot of people go to work, go home, go to work, go home, and they're not out and about, kind of mingling through society and not having those new situations. So when do people get jacked? Vacations, freaking, out of the ordinary routine, out of their ordinary routine in their daily lives, they would get jacked, or vacations, or traveling, something that they're not in their normal go to work, go home, go to work, go home, go here on Saturdays, go home, go to church, go home. Like, it's always on a vacation, a travel, or some kind of bump in your normal routine, and we had to stay late, and now instead of going home at 5 o'clock, I'm going home at 9:30, and this happened. Trust me, a lot of the people that hit me up for training and stuff, especially like beginner stuff for private classes, is almost always folks that are like, I'm like, so who are you and where are you at in your journey of shooting and stuff? And they're like, well, I moved here, I moved there, and then blah, blah. And then this happened, and I went and bought guns. So now I want to learn how to use them. Happens all the time. Some of the stories are wild. Some of the stories are crazy, especially with women spousal abuse or stalker ex-boyfriend or whatever the hell. Crazy ones. One woman told me a story about a guy that she met on the internet and said like 10 words to him, and then all of a sudden started stalking her. And I mean, just insane. Yeah, always walk with a purpose. Always be looking around. Just, and then have that switch where you're like, nope, our meeting is over. I'll see you later. And never let them impede your movement. People who are trained in violence are much better positioned to reap. Oh, of course, absolutely. Overestimate their ability or control the situation. Yeah, no, that's what you're fighting always, son. People talking about I'm gonna whip out my pocket knife and go to work with it or something. I'm like, you ever been stabbed? I don't fucking think so. Like, no. Guess what? In a knife fight, your best asset is your feet. You better get moving. It's just crazy. People think that they can get away with so much. Now, what's cool is that people do. Crazy things happen and people get out of it. But, yeah, we were just talking about the riots and shit, Big Johnson, talking about how crazy it was. Or all of it is, really. The whole situation in the first place, the police, that guy, and if he's going to go to prison. And a couple years back on a vacation, tried to mug you. Homeless veteran begging for crack. Oh, shit. Yeah, I mean, people were crazy. And that's the thing. You never know who's going to be the one. Yeah. People always think that they're going to overperform most of the time. And just think they'll be all right on the day. Like, I'll figure it out on the day. And there's a whole lot of tactical stuff and like goobers out there on the internet that have never really been, even some police or military guys that have never been in a fight one-on-one, kind of that close proximity of a fight. Like police officers, if they've ever gotten kind of separated and had to fight someone pretty much to the damn death, they kind of get these sort of things. But a lot of times, you know, you got that team environment or help or whatever it is. But I find that a lot of people are leading people freaking down some stupid ass roads on shit like that, especially like knife fights and stuff like that. Dude, there's no way to get out of a knife fight in a good situation. The only way is to meet a gun with this, and that is it. There's no good way to do it. All this kind of tactical, like, super knife fight shit, and I got my clinch pick and all these little knives and stuff that I'm going to use in a fight. If it comes to that, like, man, you just don't even want to have that attitude. Because you're going to think about, like, oh, well, if this happens, I'll do this. And then you might end up actually doing it, and it's just not. Oof. Ugh. Anytime I hear people talk about knife fighting, I'm like, dude, I just, it makes me cringe. You make knives? Hey, now I'm not saying having them and wearing them and keeping them isn't good. I mean, I carry a knife everywhere I go. I like the little clinch picks and stuff. And if you're in like a super tight grappling situation that ends up in a certain way, no doubt about it, that thing's going to come in handy. But people that like think they're going to get their EDC knife out and have a knife fight, like, okay, old boy comes at me with a knife. Like, I'm going to get my knife out and then we're going to, you know, whatever way, we're going to knife fight. Nah. Like, that's where people need to start understanding you don't want to do that. You don't want to go down that road. Like, never. Ever, ever, ever. Somebody comes at you with a knife, try your very best. what you really want to do, and what my philosophy is. Now, other people would tell you some other shit, but I've been there, done it a few times. Got the scars to prove it. So, what you really want to do is make it a one knife fight. So, if one person has a knife, you don't want to add another one to the fight. That next thing you know, you're focused on your knife and their knife. That don't work good when you're trying to fight. Basically, what my philosophy is, leave them have their knife. They already have it. You leave yours where it's at, and then fight that person with a one object encounter, so that you can put all your focus and attention on that object and take it from them. 2-on-1, couple little easy techniques, some hips and 2-on-1, and you'll take that knife from them. Now you might get touched up a bit with it on the way in and trying to take that knife from them, but if you make it a 2-knife fight, guess what? You both just stab the shit out of each other and you both probably die. If you make it a 1-knife fight, you got a chance of maybe getting cut up a little bit, maybe getting poked a little bit, but taking that knife, getting it out of the situation, or then making it a 1-knife fight with you owning that tool and do whatever you got to do. But it's not something you want to just 2-knife fight. Nah, not for me. And I've only ever done it twice, but one of them went extremely well, the other one not so well, but I didn't die. Yes, sir. Yep. And if you're ever in a knife situation where a guy pulls a knife on you, the only way I went through it is, one, I didn't know at first that the person had a knife, and then 2, I was literally stuck in a kind of a corner to where I had to go through that person to get out of the place. Like, there was no no getting around them, and had to go through and play that game. Yeah, winner of a knife fight, who bleeds out last. That's the thing. So if you possibly can, try to keep it a 1-knife fight and take that knife. 2-on-1, meaning 2 hands on their 1 hand. They have a knife, 2-on-1. 2 hands, 1 hand. You get a hold, collar tie, whatever you got, clothing wise, whatever you can, wrist lock. You got a hold of it. Wrist ties, bicep ties, things like that. Anything you can do, no matter which way they're coming at you with it, to stop that hand and get 2-on-1. And then basically, they're going to try to go crazy because they want that knife. So if I get 2-on-1, I just hold on to it for dear life. Dear life. And let them try to move you around or whatever. Most of the time you can use their momentum and some hips, little judo, and boom, flop them right over top of you. 2-on-1, you got a hold of that tool. Technically it's still in their hand, but you got a hold of it, you got a control of it. Little hip action, boom, chuck them over top of you. Do whatever you got to do to that hand to manipulate it to get them to drop it, and then gone. Don't even stay to finish the fight. Don't win. You don't have to win. You don't have to beat them to death. You just take that knife and go. And that's what I did. Then the one time, I got poked a couple times though, but I didn't know the person had a knife. So I got stabbed 4 times in the back of my neck, right in my trap, basically, and then twice right back here, and once kind of right in here somewhere. Pretty hard, pretty solid, but hey, I was lucky enough that didn't hit anything. I mean, it was pretty gross and pretty rough, but it didn't hit anything to where I was bleeding too bad. And I made it out of there. And one time on a live stream, I'll just tell you that whole story, which it's literally an insane story. Pretty cool story. It'll probably take me about an hour to tell the whole thing from beginning to end, but it's a good one. So we'll We'll have to do that. We'll have to have a couple more of these things. These are fun to do. Ugh, knife fights are gross. There's just no good way to do that. I just hate to see people that, I don't know. It's not like they advocate it, but they kind of do, and carry big kind of crazy EDC knives and stuff. Like my EDC knife is for cutting shit. That's it. It's for like man shit, not fighting shit. Yeah, 2-on-one's the only way to do it. The only thing is, yeah, they can switch hands, but that's very hard to do. And what you want to do is get 2-on-one and immediately take that one into your inner. So whatever you're doing, you're gonna have to get a hold and then go 2-on-one. If they switch hands, we just disengage. But the way I teach it is 2-on-one, and I'm gonna rotate. The second I get 2-on-one, wherever it is, I'm gonna bring it to this spot and rotate inward. That way, if they have to switch hands, they'd have to reach around me to switch hands. And that was the way, literally the only thing that I teach is those couple of little moves. And those are just the ones that I used. So that's all I feel comfortable teaching. I'm not going to teach a bunch of other kind of little techniques. I'm just going to teach the bare minimum of what got me through. And everything else, hey, do what you want. I mean, there's many ways to do it, but wherever you get it, you're going to drag it to one side or the other and then step in so that you're between them, so they would have to reach around you, if that makes sense. Yeah, now if you were carrying like a fixed blade ripper, then I guess you could probably use that as an offensive unit and just kind of violence of action and go towards the person and just basically try to do work before they have enough chance to do work to you, I guess. I don't know, but yeah, no, there's no 100% nothing that's, I mean, basically, there's a few ways that are pretty good if you get to that point. But getting to that point, you are going to be injured harshly, roughly, badly, you know. The only things that I got was shit that you can't even really see. Just a couple slices. My one finger got cut real bad, like all the way. You probably can't see it at all, but just all the way from like here all the way down to the fingernail, pretty roughly, from something, I don't know how, and then just some nicks and stuff here and there. So I was pretty lucky the one time. Then the other time, obviously, I got a couple, which it was like I think 3.5 inch blade. So basically like what a steak knife that's not one of those long ones, but your EDC style or whatever. Yeah, now if you were rocking a Bowie knife or something, that might be an offensive tool. Well, that's the thing. When people have a knife, they will focus 100% on that. So, yeah, that technique is going to give somebody your back. But I've never once ever seen somebody slick enough that doesn't, you know, not many people are going to drop that knife and go to your back because you're not really giving them. You're kind of giving them your back at maybe suplex level, like down underneath your nipples at minimum. But part of that technique is to get them go in between and hip toss them. So you're putting your hip out there, sticking your ass out there, and you're basically just dragging the person around in a circle until you get them to fall on the ground. So there's more to it than what I'm telling you, but once you get the arm to here or to here, you're going to just basically spin around in a circle and try and hip bump them and hip toss them as you pull that arm away. And when people have a knife or they're trying to fight with a knife, they think about that knife wherever it is, and however that's just laser focused. All they're thinking about is that knife. So that's usually what I've seen. I will. I'll look it up. And most shitheads that you're going to be fighting aren't going to know shit about wrestling or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Most people that are predatorial in nature and shitty don't know anything. As far as my experience of messing with people that that were criminals, I guess you'd call them, shit like that. Most criminals aren't disciplined whatsoever in any aspect of their life. That's why they want to be a criminal. They want to get what's easy and not do anything hard. So most of the time they don't know shit about fighting. Any advice getting into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Yeah, hell yeah. So basically the biggest thing about it is just going. You just gotta go. And then what I look for in a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym is one that offers some classes first that are full mixed martial arts classes. Okay? And then you can go maybe one night a week to a mixed martial arts class that has some striking, vertical wrestling, regular wrestling, and jiu-jitsu in it. And then one night a week or 2 nights a week to regular jiu-jitsu classes. It's super easy now. I mean, depending on where you live, there's going to be a million gyms. The thing is, try to do your due diligence a little bit. Look up whoever is owner of the gym. Whoever the instructors are certified under, or whoever the instructors are under, wherever their lineage is what we call it. Wherever that comes from and whatever's going on, just kind of do a little bit of research before you go. And then basically go to one. If you like it, stay. If you feel like it's cool and laid back, and basically you'll know right away. You'll kind of have the feeling of, these guys are cool, it seems laid back, I like what they're talking about, and then just make yourself go. So I've been super freaking sporadic about it, and then I do 90% mixed martial arts. So it's a little bit of practices. It's basically practices with a couple of guys, and then 2 fighters that fight all the time, and then probably 4 or 5 other guys that just like to train and shit. And we do basically everything. So I like to strike. I'm a striker. I came through boxing and everything, and I wrestled, but boxing and wrestling, they weren't mixed together when I was a kid, quite like now. When I was a kid, UFC was just starting to be really cool around high school and shit. So boxing and wrestling, still didn't really think about it like that. Like the Ultimate Fighter was starting, and that's when it started really getting me into like jiu-jitsu. And I had a couple buddies in high school that started getting into it late in high school that were older than me. So what the hell? Where are we at here? Another fight that people underestimate. Well, I don't know what you said there. Or if you're talking about multiple people. Oh, fighting multiple people. Okay, so I can't tell you this, but I'd have to have some friends tell you. It's one of those things, right? You got to have the actual witnesses of the event talk about these things. But I have successfully fought several guys multiple times. My buddy that owns the range can vouch for me 100%. But those are truly stories that have to be told by a third person. Okay, the only reason I was able to do that is because at the time I was about 275 pounds, freaking lifting weights and stacked, and I was in the height of my boxing. I was fast as shit and big and just heavy and could smash. And gotten a couple of scuffs here and there with several people, them not knowing how to fight. Okay, if they knew how to fight, you can't do it. You can't do it because one person's going to take your legs, one person's going to take your middle, the other person's going to take your top, and that's going to be it. There's no way to do it. But against untrained opponents, I was able to smash several fucking people several times. Like I have a really a solid reputation in my hometown for whooping people's ass. So I could hit really hard. I was fast, and I could drop way down low, keep my balance. So as guys trying to push and pull or do whatever, or just throwing punches, I just kind of ball up, let them throw punches. They're hitting me on top of the head and shit, and I just come out, pick one, come out, smash them, go back, into defensive mode, and just swinging all around and bobbing and throwing and squatting way down low and coming back up, and then I just pick another one and bah. So it several times, like pretty insane, funny stories. Obviously drunk, hanging out, crazy, because my town has a college in it. So when we were in high school, it was like a fun thing to go party at college parties and try to pick up on college girls who were all hammered up. And then we get in fights all the time with like frat kids and just beat the shit out of them. Because all of us were country ass wrestlers and boxers and just rough. And it was so much fun. Oh. Like it got to the point where the kids at the college knew not to start fight with the local kids. Like the local farm boys and shit. It was pretty fun. But absolutely, if people know how to fight and there's two of them or three of them, you're done. It's over. If they're smart enough to take you down, once you're down, you can't use your power and shit. That's the whole point of jiu-jitsu. Take somebody's legs away, take somebody's power away. You put them on the ground. Now the workspace is evened some. So it's just, but if people know anything about fighting, you're screwed. And then one thing though that's funny is even wrestlers, even people who are really good wrestlers, when they get mad and get into a fight and they're probably intoxicated or probably inebriated in some way, they don't think about using their actual wrestling skills. Because they're not a fighter, they don't think about using the skills that they have. Okay, when you start to think about fighting as a sport and not get mad, you can do work to people who are pissed. Because everybody is mad and they're balled up and they're going to throw like a maniac. And if you're just like, all right, and you chill and pick your shots and you just beat the shit out of anybody. It's so easy. Because people get mad. People that are mad can't fight. And if you are so used to fighting, like what I tell people is, one of my lines when I was young, and guys would try me and they kind of know who I was or hear something or whatever, and they'd come up and want to try me. I just say, hey man, I fought on Tuesday. I don't want to fight you. Like, I fought somebody who was actually really good, like a state champion boxer or this or that on Tuesday. I ain't fighting you. What do you want? And if they wanted to real bad, I'd be like, all right, well, we can do that. But it's just, you get so used to it. Shit. Yeah, Taekwondo is awesome. Boxing is awesome. But, right, if you don't have a wrestling base, wrestling is the bottom of the pyramid. Okay, wrestling is the foundation. Okay, no striker can do jack shit against a BJJ guy if they don't know how to wrestle. And conversely, you if you don't know how to wrestle to stop the takedown, or to scramble, or to stop yourself from taking down, you can't ever really utilize your tools. Just like if you watch Connor, who is an extremely good striker, fight Khabib, he could never get off. He could never really throw what he wanted to throw because he's always worried. The second he really puts his stuff together and starts really getting down, all he has to do is step 6 inches too far, or throw one ill-advised knee like he ended up doing, and next thing you know, he's getting his ass kicked. So he's on the ground. So you can't even implement your game unless you have wrestling or jiu-jitsu. But for me, defensive-wise, for people, regular old Joes, wrestling is more important than jiu-jitsu. Why? Because we don't want to be on the ground, right? Fighting an old boy at the gas station's fine. Rolling around on the ground with him and you choke his ass out or take a limb and tell him, hey, I'm going to snap your arm off if you don't get the hell out of here. And then he says, okay, and you let him up. That's all great, but we don't want to end up on the ground for old boy's buddy to walk up and be like, and stick a knife in your neck. Like, you don't want to be on the ground. So vertical wrestling is the biggest. So vertical wrestling just means on your feet. Wrestling so that you do not end up on the ground, and wrestling to make space so you can draw, wrestling to make space so you can touch them up, do whatever you got to do, and wrestling to just make space. Honestly, that's all we want as concealed carriers, because again, we want skills to win the fight, but more than win the fight, we want to survive. We want to get the fuck out of there, or do whatever. Or just, winning is no consolation either way. Surviving is the goal, the end goal. Getting through that fight without massive damage or loss of life. So, the winning part of it, who cares? Like, let's say guy gets the better of you. Runs up to you, smashes you in the side of the face with a brick, damn near knocks you out. You're blasted, you're bloody, you're beaten. And then you turn the tables on him, flop his ass, do whatever you got to do. Do you need to win? Do you need to smash that dude's face in? Or do you need to just give him a little love once or twice, and then you got enough distance to peace out? In the context of being a defensive citizen, we just want to get the hell out of there. We want to survive. We want to get through the fight. We don't necessarily give a shit about winning. Until it's death versus death, all the way straight up, then it's like, yeah, now we got to win. But a lot of civilian encounters and shit really don't go there. Whole thing of footwork and distance as a boxer goes out the window real quick. Aggressive, yeah. If you don't know how to sprawl and get down, and that's a skill that's just. Sprawling, if you're a decent striker and you know how to sprawl quick, there ain't nobody that, that was always my biggest thing. I was just extremely hard to take down. I had 4 buddies that were state champions, 2 of them that were state champions all 4 years of high school. Just wrestling stock. Ridiculous wrestling stock, like family stock. And never could they take me down. So I practiced and worked and drilled with them constantly, teaching them how to strike a little bit, and them teaching me how to sprawl more effectively. And if you can sprawl fast, you can do whatever, man. And then scramble and sprawling and scrambling, using people's momentum is one of the most important things. A lot of people don't know anything about momentum in fights. They just go hard, all or nothing. And as you get better and better, and you take one little step and roll your shoulder and kick your hips a little bit or something, I mean, you can take a person that's running straight at you and just flop them, and they go flying 7 feet just by barely doing shit. Once you kind of get used to all that. So my suggestion is to get to the MMA gym and tell them you want to learn vertical wrestling, scrambling, and distance management, and then a little bit of Brazilian jiu-jitsu and a little bit of striking, and kind of tell them, I'm a concealed carrier. I just want to get better at that whole distance management thing and staying on my feet, staying in the fight. And if it goes to the ground and I think I have the chance to go ahead and just do whatever I got to do to this person to stop them or subdue them or whatever, I'd like to be able to do that. But for the most part, just want to be able to get through everything and know a little bit more about all that shit. What's this? Yep, and boxing is all about really learning how to punch, learning how to strike, or striking at all, is learning how to do it while maintaining balance and being able to get your shots off and balance at the same time. Yeah, a bit of boxing, bit of wrestling is basically uh, the the best budget skill set that you can get, if you want to kind of put it like that. Tried to break up a fight, got smashed behind. Ugh, got kicked in the head. Yep, that's and that's the thing about like bar fights and shit. I was never about that shit. Like, let's not do that. I mean, I had to do it a bunch of times. I had rowdy friends um, that would just get into situations and be like, I don't want to let you get your ass kicked, but I kind of do. And the bad part about those kind of situations is people are just ridiculous. They're just dumb as shit, and they'll stomp somebody in the head 15 times and be like, dude, uh, what are you doing? You trying to kill them? Like, you just got mad at him for spilling beer on your face or something, spilling beer on your shirt, and now you're going to kick the guy in the head 14 times? Like, what the fuck are you doing? And people don't know. People don't know any better. They're just mad. They're mad, and they're drunk, and they're pissed off, and they're going to kick somebody in the head. And it's like, dude, you're going to kill somebody. Like, I've had a bunch of buddies get their teeth kicked in and crazy shit. And then, when we were younger, we'd go find the kids and beat the shit out of them, and it was just a mess. Man. Yeah, I mean, people are drunken people that don't understand anything at the moment. They get mad and then they're it's crazy. A lot of people, a lot of people get killed in bar fights and stuff. You pick somebody up and suplex their ass, and they smash their head on the concrete. Like, you just don't want to get into a bar fight or any kind of fight in those situations at all. And that's one of the biggest things that martial arts and fighting, mixed martial arts, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, it takes that away from you. It does. Like, most people don't ever get in bar fights or would never even think about getting in a bar fight. But even younger guys, when you do jiu-jitsu and do mixed martial arts, uh, it kind of just takes all that aggression and lets it go a little bit. Plus, you're like I would always tell people, like, dude, I fought on Tuesday. I sparred on Tuesday. Like, my head's still sore from then. My hands are hurting. Like, I don't feel like I'm not doing this shit with you. You don't even know how to fight. Like, what are we doing? That's like playing basketball with somebody who don't know how to play basketball. It's just a sport to me. And you ain't gonna win. So shut the fuck up. I mean, just, people were crazy, though. And they think these rednecks and shit, you wouldn't believe what I've dealt with over the years. Like, you think you're some kind of boxer or something, huh? I'll whoop your ass. And it's like, sometimes I'd just be like, all right, let's go. Let's see what happens. You know, every now and then I feel like beating on somebody. But, oh, that's crazy. Orbital fracture, eye swollen shut. I've had that before. That sucked. In that fight that that I got stabbed a couple of times, I got a knee at one point in that ordeal, where somebody was smart enough to knee me in one position, and it was a rough knee. Almost knocked me out. I was just barely stayed conscious throughout that whole ordeal. But it cracked my orbital. This one, I think. Can't tell. Yeah, there it is. This one here, cracked it and just poop. Swelled up like crazy. This one had a little tiny fracture one time. Somewhere then. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, swollen shut, eyeball swollen shut. Oh man, that shit sucked. Sucked. I got in my car after that whole ordeal. I'm like looking around like, holy shit. And then I didn't even know that I thought I was cut by that knife, but I didn't even know I'd gotten stabbed a couple times. I was like driving probably half hour later. I'm like, man, I feel like shit. I mean, obviously, I had my eardrum blown out. My ear was ripped. My earlobe right here has a little scar on it where it was ripped kind of off. And it was just, but I started feeling real woozy and shit like I was going to puke. And I'm like, well, I did just get whacked in the head. So, you know, that's probably why. But it was because I was losing some blood. Yeah, I'm like, damn, I don't feel so good. And fucking traffic lights are starting to look a little weird and shit. And then I realized, I'm like, dude, I'm soaked. And my back was like warm and shit. And I'm like, what the? But I think I leaned up and it was sticky or something. And I was just like, holy shit. Oh, it was scary because I had an hour and a half to drive back to the hotel and didn't go to the hospital in that town because I didn't want to. And then drove all the way back to where I was at. And it was an hour and a half drive. And, whew, yeah. Starting to get a little low on fluid. Started feeling like shit. I'm like, oh man. So then I got back, had to go to the hospital, which they were, oh, it was a tough deal because I didn't want them to call the, no, I didn't lose that much. No. Nope. Probably pretty lucky there, but that was one thing that I didn't have to do. I was pretty psyched about. But the doctors and shit were really, because gunshot wounds and stab wounds, they call the police, so mandatorily or whatever. So I'm like, I really don't want that to happen. And I started talking to the doctor, and it was a tough deal, tough night to get through, because yeah, I don't know, it just sucked. And then honestly, for the next, I mean, it was pretty rough for the next 2 weeks. Had real bad ringing in my ear, like a buzzing for probably 2 whole weeks. I couldn't sleep. My eyes still all jacked. The knife stuff didn't really hurt that bad. It wasn't all that bad. There's a couple nerves that I got hit a little bit on one spot that was kind of rough, and then just a little bit of nerve shit with the rest of them. The one in my trap, I'll feel firing sometimes when I'm lifting weights and stuff, like where some muscle tissue got ripped open or whatever, and I'll feel like a little twinge there sometimes. But I got pretty freaking lucky with all that shit. Super lucky, really. Plus, not getting shot in the face was probably the luckiest thing. I picked a fight with you, buddy. We woke up from being knocked out. Holy shit. That's no good. Yeah, that is no good. Yeah, anytime you get a good concussion, good head whacker, you're going to feel it for a while. I mean, I've had some concussions and stuff from racing dirt bikes and things like that that were pretty rough. Honestly, one of the reasons why I quit really racing and stuff, but um, the headaches and especially like the ringing in the ears and headaches and shit that you get from shit like that just suck. There's nothing you can do about it. It's like a freaking toothache in your head. Got knocked out. Didn't remember, huh? Yeah, you don't want to do that. You don't want to wake up at the bar from being knocked out or anywhere. Yeah, the ear thing sucked. The busted eardrum and just trauma, it sucked. And then nowadays, I got to be super careful at the range. Like if I, do a bonehead move and have my ear pro up on my head or something and go and shoot, done. It sucks. Like my left ear will hurt for 2 straight days. So I got to be really careful when I'm at the range. Make sure I got my ear pro in. I don't really, I don't use double for pistol, but I do for rifle, especially in this left ear. I'll put a foamy in there and a muff. Um, oh, yeah. I've never been fully knocked out. I've never been knocked out. Even boxing and everything, I've been rocked, and I've lost, but I've never been slept, never been snoring. So that's a good thing. Now I have racing dirt bikes. I caught a couple naps a few times doing that, but luckily never knocked out from a punch. But close enough a couple times. When I tore my ACL 2 years ago, I got jacked. I was fighting a guy, probably 6'4", maybe even 6'5", young, 20-couple-year-old black kid, super athletic, super strong, like 260 freaking pounds. And he was pretty good. So we had a good time, but he ended up stepping on my foot, and I always switch from orthodox to southpaw, and that's kind of one of my things. That's just something I had to learn from injuries and stuff. And he stepped on my foot, and we both tried making a little move off of it, and he ended up getting me off balance in a weird way, and then still standing on my foot, smashed me, just caught me with a nice shot. Of course, I was trying to do something else, and him standing on my foot didn't allow me to move, so boom, got rocked, and landed on the ground with him still standing on my foot, and it tore my ACL. So now it only tore it halfway, and then I took a little break from riding dirt bikes and boxing, didn't do shit, and the next time I rode my bike, it blew apart. So that and tore my calf. So sucked. Really freaking bad. Any secrets of dealing with pre-fight anxiety? Ooh. That is something that comes with time, and then some people don't get real nervous, and some people do. I get nervous for sure. Um, I stay calm, but I'm nervous for sure. And it seems like I get more nervous until I'm standing there. Like literally, as soon as I start coming out, you know, or walking up within arm's reach, like about to do the thing, I kind of get a little calm, I guess, and I start thinking about what I want to do, maybe. And I guess just there's too much going on to really be worried about being nervous. But it's tough. Anytime you're going into something intense with physical consequences, just like racing dirt bikes, be nervous as shit on the line because the first lap of a race is really sketchy and scary. So it's just nerve wracking. What weight did I use? 195, and then like 204, and then heavyweight for a little while too. I just at a certain point, I just didn't give a shit. So I went to heavyweight, weighed 225 or so, and then just kind of stuck around that. Yeah, head trauma in a car accident, lost consciousness. Yeah, I've been knocked out probably, lost consciousness probably 4 times, I think, from moto, and then almost a couple times from boxing and fighting. Right. See you, man. I'm about to end this. We're probably about out of battery too, but um, got to get to bed. Take her easy. Yeah, I got to as well. More fighters than I, more fights than I can count. Yeah, it's tough, man. I mean, you're definitely always gonna get nervous. I try to think about it. I just try to think about it as a sport. You know, trying to, even if it's like a fight that's about to happen in a real setting, I'm kind of like, I just I just try to think about it as a sport as much as I can, and I usually perform better. Yeah, warm ups are for sure key. You got to be wet, especially if you're going into boxing matches. That was one of my coach's big things is you can't go in there dry. You got to be really going. And we used to warm up to the point where it was like, man, is this overdoing it? Like I'm always like, man, but it always worked because it's almost like you have like a half, like a first wind, a second wind, but before the first wind there's always that kind of half wind. Like if you take off to run 3 miles right now, what's going to suck the most? The first mile. So in the ring, when you get into you're about to get into the fight, you want to kind of get that first mile out of the way, be all loosened up, your lungs all loosened up, your sweat rolling a little bit, you're kind of in that zone of ready to roll. Um, so that's always something that helps for sure. Hell yeah. I would try to get really, because I always kind of thought my second win was better than the first, you know, so that's what I always try to do is be really, you know, to the point where now if I did my warm up, I'd be beat. You know, I always, I being 6 foot in heavyweight is like a midget. Okay, so I'm always fighting against bigger guys, big bodied sons of bitches, and I gotta rip. You know, when I pick my shots and do my work, I gotta throw hard. So if I didn't warm up well, I'd just peter out in no time. It felt like, but there ain't no way to get over nerves. I think if you got it, you got it. Like guys that don't get nervous, and then I think most people are full of shit when they say they don't get nervous. But I have met several people who are like asleep, and then ding 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 start fighting. So I have met people like that. One guy who's like that is in pro boxing is Errol Spence. I mean, he's like totally just looks like he's freaking asleep, and then ding 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 and starts doing his work. And man, is he good! Holy shit, he's one of the very best out there right now. Which boxing is pretty cool right now. There's a lot of good shit that's gonna happen when stuff gets going. You know, I'm a big boxing fan. I can't wait to see some of the fights that are going to happen hopefully next year. And then mixed martial arts is always popping. Always good shit. And for guys that don't train, just watching UFC and kind of not watching it just for the entertainment, but actually watching kind of what people are doing, it does help. Like, it does help a little bit. Just kind of noticing distance management and footwork and how guys are kind of angling and moving around. It does help, because I've taught boxing for the last probably 8 years, kind of on and off, just to a kid here or a kid there. And a lot of kids will come in and have like some decent, like they're moving around pretty decently, and it's just because they've watched UFC and shit. So there is some little bit of learning you can do from that shit. But combative stuff, it's my number one suggestion to concealed carriers to do more, and police officers to do more. So with that, guys, hopefully that was semi-productive, and we'll do another one someday, sometime. So take her easy, fellas.